What up, Stash Nation? Welcome to episode number 2 of Life Lessons with Loki. This one, we're going to be talking a little bit about relationships, just in the, we're going to keep with a time honored tradition of self effacing, self defaming stories. So, we're going to jump right back into my horrific childhood and talk about relationships. Now, relationships is a broad category. Um, but we're going to talk specifically about personal relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend stuff. And what a wealth of just horrible failures I am in that department. But let's go with number one, my first heartbreak, and let's call this girl Matilda. I've never met a Matilda, so that's safe. Now, okay, so a little background. At this point, I'm fresh out of high school. I lived in a very small town at this point. I was just out of foster care. Finally, 18 and able to do my own thing. I was staying with a buddy of mine and met a girl, and that's pretty much just that's the nitty gritty of it. So we hit it off, and then I don't know what happened, man. I think I just got too clingy, and I had never really been in a serious relationship yet. I mean, I was not. I'd lost my virginity a few years prior, thank God, but it was a goal for me. If that's not a goal for you, don't worry about it. And just a side note, let's discern relationships from sex. If you're just trying to have sex, let me share a little piece of advice with you. It's a numbers game. 99 no's and 1 yes is still a yes. If that's all you want, just keep asking. Somebody out there will. There's plenty of people. Somebody's gonna say yes. It's a numbers game, bro. If that's all you're interested in, that's fine. And that's after. Anyway, we'll get back to that after the what have you. So Matilda and I, everything's great at first, and then just it went the way things go. We broke up, and it was not good for me. I didn't handle it so well. I got really bummed out, and I actually I I was talking to my buddy, and I found her blanket. It was in the room, and I just decided, man, she had to have it back. You know what I mean? Which was really just an excuse for me to go over there and talk to her and plead my case, which is dumb. If it ever gets to that point, don't. I mean, any relationship requires work, and it's worth it. You know what I mean? If it's worth it, but if it's not worth it, you need to be realistic with yourself. And are you, if it's you don't want to be alone, or if you don't, just make sure you really think about it before you are, making compromises and doing things and changing your personality when it's just not necessary. Because trust me, even if it takes 30 years, you will find the right person. You will find exactly who and what you're looking for. Somebody that the dream person that's in your mind is out there. Trust me, they're out there. You just have to be diligent and patient and don't settle for anything less. But that's another story for another time. Let's get back on track. So I decide that I'm gonna take this blanket back to my bro. Or I'm sorry, I talking to my bro and about the blanket. I have to bring it to her. And I didn't have a car at the time. I think I borrowed it too. I had a car, but it wasn't there. And I was like, dude, let me borrow your ride. And he was like, he was, obviously telling me over and over what a terrible idea it was. And all my friends, they said the same thing. So, he had a geo tracker, and it was manual. I had never driven a manual before in my life, but so determined was I that I was like, you know what, how hard can it be? I played friggin' Need for Speed, I can pull this off. So I stalled the engine twice on the way over there. Drove in second gear almost the entire time. And when I got over there, I just made an absolute ass of myself. I was crying all over myself. Her parents were home, and it was really pathetic. Like, looking back on it, I'm so embarrassed telling this story, and I just wish I could Doc Brown over to that kid and be like, look, man, this is not a good look for you, bro. And I was so insecure. I was just so insecure. And on a personal note, man, if any of you guys, any of you bros are out there, if you have a weird living situation, you live with an aunt or an uncle or foster care like I did, let me just be honest and tell you that you're probably not going to be equipped with a lot of life skills, man, and you're going to want to get on that very quickly, or you're going to find yourself like me. I didn't really have my own place to live. I overdrafted my first bank account. I, was in a really terrible relationship just for the sake of being in a relationship because I thought I was supposed to be. And then I just, things went very badly for me. And if you find yourself in that same boat in any way, shape, or form, just let me tell you, nobody's really going to do anything for you other than yourself. And don't take years and learn it the hard way like I did, because it's not a fun path. It's really not. But anyway, let's get back to me making an ass of myself in front of Matilda. That didn't end well for me, man. She got really sad, of course, because I was, the emo kid thing, that's not where it's at, trust me. If you're gonna, if you want to be in an adult relationship, you have to act like an adult, you know what I mean? And if it's not working, it's not working. But, so I leave, and I'm just so bummed out at this point, right? Like, I'm like, I should have just kept the fucking blanket at least, but whatever. So I pull out onto the main road, and I lived in a very small town. I was in a very small graduating class, and everybody, we were kind of aware of each other, you know what I mean? So I get to the stop sign and I see a car kind of way out there, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wait, because I don't want to pull out in front of this car, stall it, and kill us both, because I don't know what I'm doing with a manual yet. So I did. I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and it was a cop, and they stopped, and he asked me, he's, what are you doing? And I said, and I of course, like, I must have looked like a soup sandwich, like just a hot friggin' mess. And I explained my situation, and he kind of, like, now I see he was really cool about it, but I think he was trying not to laugh. I certainly would have, if I would have encountered like a teenager that didn't know anything about life and was in the situation that I found myself in, I'd have probably reacted the same way. But yeah, that was kind of that. I moved on in a very terrible way. I ended up getting with her best friend, and let me tell you, don't ever do that. The rebound, if you're gonna rebound, be strategic, man. Don't drop your rod in the same pond right away, because your friends are not going to really respond to that well, I found out. And another thing, man, and this isn't horse shaming, but don't, if anybody who's like gonna throw it at you right away under any circumstance, be aware that that's probably how they live their lives. That's no big deal, but and I'm sure you've heard the old adage, you can't turn a whore into a housewife, but I would say that's just very reductive and simplistic. I would just say people don't change, you know what I mean? You kind of are who you are, at least for that time in your life, you know what I mean? If you're gonna live for the moment, and that's what you're gonna do, and that's what I certainly did throughout my 20s, that's just the way she goes, you know what I mean? And that's, you gotta let people live their lives. So yeah, I ended up staying single for like a long time after that. I actually found her in bed, and let me say, just in bed. They weren't sleeping together, with a buddy of mine, and I was just like, you know what, this is not where I want. I broke up with her, and I moved out. Like, I moved out of the city, I moved out of the state, and I just moved on with my life, man. I accumulated a ton of adventures. I've lived in like 10 different states, man. I've done a lot of crazy shit, and I would say that was a big hitting off point for me, was that horrible breakup, and then from there going to a major metropolitan area, like meeting real members of my actual blood family, finding out that they're horrible people. And let me just say, like, if you're dealing with family issues, try to really look outside the box. Don't just focus on how you're seeing it. Maybe, get some perspective, because abuse is one thing, and being ungrateful is a total other. But that is probably a lesson for another day. But anyway, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this spectacular failure in my life. And if you're going through any kind of relationship issues, I hope you can take something from this and know that you don't ever have to settle. You really don't, and you don't have to bend over backwards for somebody just for the sake of being with somebody. It's not worth it. It's selling a part of yourself for no return. And again, I don't want to be labeled as a horse shamer, but I do believe, and again, I made a lot of poor decisions, and I've paid the price for them. But I feel like when you sleep with somebody, you are connected with that person, no matter how you slice it, for the rest of your life. And I think if you get to the point where you can't remember, you know what I mean, that starts to get a little sad. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be. At least in my life, everybody is entitled to their own ways, their own life, their own, you're your own human being. But what I've found for my own peace of mind is to be selective, you know what I mean, at a certain point. And I know you're probably thinking, well, Loki, obviously you're a supermodel, so you're beating them off with a stick, and you're damn right. You're damn right. So I thought I'd cut right to my fiance's cooking. She's making me an English muffin. I think she's really pretty, and I thought it'd be a good way to illustrate my point.
What are you saying?
What?
What are you saying? I hear you whispering.
I'm going over my commentary on this thing.
Uh-huh.
It's pretty good. You want to come check it out?
I do. Indeed.
Hmm?
I do indeed.
Is that my Punisher jacket?
Maybe. More like mine.
You say hi to Stash Nation?
Hola.
I love you.
I love you.
Thank you for making me English muffin. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you guys.
We really look like a pair, don't we?
Yeah. A pair of what? You tell me in the comments.